Welcome to part 2 of my postpartum core activation series. Part 1 was a very basic breath awareness, very simple movements just to get that mind-body connection starting in the early postpartum period. But where do we go after that? Well, that's where part 2 comes in. We start to build on what you practiced before, you've been building up for the past few weeks. And I give you tips on movements that you can do, what you want to avoid, and a recommendation on how often you can do this, how many repetitions you should do, and how to breathe in these movements. So this is what I've practiced during both of my postpartum periods, and I came back stronger, if you can believe it, than I was before giving birth. I'm Bethany. I'm a mom of 2 young kids. I've been teaching yoga full time for the past 10 years, and I specialize in working with pregnant and postpartum women. I hope you join me and enjoy this core activation practice. Welcome. If you haven't seen part 1 of the postpartum core, I recommend you look at it before watching this video because I talk through how to work through basic core activation, really core awareness in the early postpartum weeks before we build on that and move into these movements. So watch that first. And then when you're ready, you'll join me here. We're coming down onto our back. Early postpartum, it's nice to roll down onto your side and then move down so we're not adding any strain to our core, okay? I have my mat folded because I'm gonna work on sliding my heels out. We find our deep core, making sure our ribs aren't flaring out. A slight tilt with the pelvis. My transverse abdominals are firing up. My pelvic floor is engaged, all kinds of goodness. My heels aren't too far away. I work with my right leg, extending my right leg out just a few centimeters and then coming back. If you've been practicing part 1 and you're ready to extend the leg out all the way, go for it, try it. Make sure there's no bulging in your belly and then go for it. Keeping that deep core engaged. We do 10 on each side, okay? So we have 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come back up. Relax your belly. Breathe into the belly. All right, other side. Start to engage your pelvic floor, a little pelvic tilt. Deep core is engaged, ribs aren't flaring, feet haven't slid away. And then I extend, take the left foot out. So for me, my left side is a bit more challenging. That's okay. So I'm going to maybe not go as far for a few rounds and just kind of check in. Okay, where am I losing that connection? And we do 10 on this side as well, your own pace. And I have 5 more. And then relax. Rock the knees side to side. And bring your knees into your chest. Give your knees a little bit of a circle, massaging your back body. And then bring your knees right over your hips, your shins parallel. And we find our deep core again. Little pelvic tilt, ribs aren't flaring out. Deep core is engaged. And then we start to work with the right toes dropping down and back up. And we do 4, 3, 2, 1. If this feels okay, extend the leg out and back in. Out and back in. And again, this isn't the first week's postpartum. Maybe this is a few months postpartum. You've been training the other exercises every day, maybe, or every other day. And this feels okay with no bulging. Okay? So that was 5 and 5. And then we do the same thing other side. Deep core is engaged. Drop the toes down. And we do 4 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Extend out. Or do 5 more toe taps. if it feels like, yeah, it's not working for me today. Now my right leg is moving a little bit. That's okay. And so I can use my right hand to try to keep my thigh steady. All right, that was 5. Hug in, and we circle the hips. And release your feet down, back, right by your hips. Palms pressing down, take a breath in. And as you exhale, slight pelvic tilt, core is strong, lift your hips, come into your bridge. Lower down, breathing in. And as you exhale, engage, lift up. That's 2, 3 more. Last round. And relax. Come over to your side, press up to your tabletop, and come onto all fours here. Start by circling your hips, releasing any gripping in your low back. Let's find cat-cow just to release, lifting your chest forward, look up, tailbone lifts, and then round, tuck the tailbone under, looking down. Breathing in, lift the chest. And exhale, round. Then come back to center, pause. Here, see if you can start to find that deep core again. It's harder in this pose because you don't have the mat behind you, but sometimes I like to put a hand on my low back to see, okay, can I find length through my spine? So I'm not rounding here, but I'm finding this nice long spine here. My deep core is engaging. You can take a hand on your belly to see if you have any bulging here. We don't want to strain the core. And honestly, if you're in the first weeks postpartum, you can stay, hold this for 3 breaths, and then you take child's pose, okay? Or if you'd like to challenge your core a little bit more, maybe you're a few months postpartum, you tuck the toes, core is strong, spine is long, and we lift the knees. Take a breath in, a breath out. One more. And then lower down. Child's pose, release, relax your belly. Come down for a breath. And then back up, inhale, tabletop. And then stretch the right toes back. Here in this pose, we often lift the hip, but we don't want that. Square your hips towards the floor. Deep core is engaged. Press away with your hands, okay? And then this is a lot of work to keep the belly from bulging, this core is strong, and we rock forward and back. This is our step 1, just finding that deep core activation. If maybe you're a few months postpartum, you come forward, keep the core strong, and you lift the foot up. Keep the hips square to the floor and lower down. And we do that 4 more times. Lifting and lowering. 3 more. And lower. And lower. Last round. And lower. Knees down. Circle the hips to release. All right. Other side. Come back up. Tabletop. Finding that length in your spine and extend. Now the left toe is out. Gaze is slightly forward of your hands. Dropping your hip down. You can do a belly check for bulging. And we start to rock forward and back here. This is a great place to start. This feels challenging for my body even because we're working in such a slow and focused way. And then you can move forward, weight onto the hands, lift the foot up. Find that engagement again, don't lose it. And then lower back down. You take 4 more, lifting and lowering. 3, 2, And 1. Bring the knee down, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Down dog, relax your head, relax your shoulders. You can bend one knee at a time, stretching through your legs. Full breath in, full breath out. And then slowly lower your knees back down to the mat. Last exercise here. Press away from the floor. Core is strong, spine is long, and extend the right toes out. Option, same thing we did before. If you'd like, core is strong, or you lift the foot, or you find balance, extend out. This is challenging. To do this properly, I see this in my yoga classes all the time, especially in like a typical vinyasa class. People move into this pose, but they're actually not finding the right body connection. So here we're gonna do it the right way. So if you feel any bulging in your belly, you back out. If it feels okay, you can pull an elbow to knee. If you're early postpartum, a few weeks, you stay in the pose from before. But if you're a few months and you want to start to find a little deeper connection, you can try this, but move as slow as you'd like. Last one, we don't do many. Extending out and back down, tabletop. Come down to your forearms, relax your palms up. Make a fist and release. You can rock your hips as you do this. Fist and release. Last one. And release. Hands back down, come back up. Tabletop, find that deep core. And extend, now the left toe is out. Strong core, hips square to the mat. And extend and lift, coming into that nice long extension. Take a breath in, stay here, or pull an elbow to knee. We don't do many, just 2 more. Inhale, find that length. Exhale, pull it in, maybe tucking your chin in more than me. 1 more. Drawing in. Find length. Back to center. And child's pose. Take a breath in. A breath out. And if you have the time, do the whole circuit twice more. But if not, this is an amazing place just to pause, connect to your core, and start to reactivate that mind-body connection. Enjoy.